Welcome everyone to a brand new episode of Owning Her Health. I know you can't believe it because I've been gone for over a month, and I can't believe it. I just didn't have the feelies, guys. I did not have the feelies. It came upon me. I got inspired for that Friday the 13th episode, and then all of a sudden, I just had a feeling like I should not be doing it. I wasn't a procrastinator. I mean, I actually kept recording. I actually have these sessions edited, ready to go. They felt like they shouldn't be shared. That's all I can say. And that brings me to a very important thing about being a medicine woman. You will come upon times when you have been working on shedding a lot of the noise in your life, when you've been moving yourself out of a place of pain, flipping it into this passionate new love affair with yourself that then can be shared with your audience or shared with your relationships at home or shared with your friendships or shared in your communities. When you're doing that work seriously, you will start to notice that you are told kind of what to do. You're guided. You know, so many times, many of us that might be walking the spiritual path, I'll call it. If you're not into calling it a spiritual path, you can just call it personal development, personal reflection. But guys, you can't go into personal development for years, and if it's actually working, you cannot expect not to get more sensitive to the higher faculties of your mind, which are perception and intuition and reasoning skills that bring you above judgment, or what I will say is more advanced than reactory feelings of judgment and isolation, which actually separate. You will actually start going to a level of discernment. You will really truly trust yourself. And when you get certain feelings and you don't listen to them and it burns you, you get very smart about listening. I mean, there's really no purpose for personal development if you're not going to actually go from where you are, grow from where you are, and glow up from where you are. The whole point is not so that you can be a recluse in a hole, hiding your spiritual wisdom and telling no one of anything that you've learned. Now, I know that there are stories of many cave-dwelling gurus in the yoga world, and the point of which, or the Buddha, or Jesus in the desert for 40 days, or, you know, these stories, but the point of these stories were to hear, for the parables to speak to those of that time, in the words of that time. And the reality is that yes, sometimes we need solitude, sometimes we need quiet, and yes, right now in modern times that is extremely a luxury that even the wealthiest of people fail to take. But if you are one of these people that truly knows the benefit of this in your life, and you're doing the work and you do the self-reflection, you will come upon a time where you can no longer lie to yourself. You can no longer live happily ever after in the illusion. And when you hit those times, it is very empowering. And so I tell you that I get you, and I hope that you can still welcome me as I evolve into an evolutionary woman, guiding those of you into the conscious masculine and the conscious feminine that you are, and understand that I'm still going through the rockiness. We're all going through the rockiness. This is a rocky time. And if you're sensitive, you have got to think of yourself first, especially if you're a person on a mission who attempts to utilize their awareness, their learning, their own pains, flip them into a passion, flip that into a profit so that they may live in this world at this time that allows them to still be abundant in their thinking, abundant in their life, to welcome abundance. You're going to have to clear out a lot of the crap that's taking the place of the abundance right now. And I want you to really understand that. This is why people have run from you. This is why people have run from the topic of spirituality, because spirituality is a study of self. It's a self-reflection. It's a mastery of self. This is why we feel more comfortable watching, Yoda and Luke Skywalker do it. Okay? This is why we have a wonderful loving of Darth Vader, because he's our own darkness, and we feel compassion for the villain in ourselves, hopefully. Many times we don't, but when you're doing the work, you start feeling the compassion for that duality within yourself. You start realizing that everything's just one coin with two different sides, many different sides. And when you do that, you will come across times when you are on the wrong path for what your objective is, for the outcome you want, where you're truly at a place of faith. When you are truly noticing you feel better living within grace and living within that trust and living truly in love with yourself and emerging from that as the evolutionary woman or conscious masculine that you are, then by all means, you're going to miss a few weeks on your podcast. Things are not going to be perfect. You're going to possibly lose people who need you to be perfect. You're going to possibly fall out of the minds of people who really don't miss you not being there. If you were tantalizing to them and stimulating to them and a momentary high, and you're no longer there like a drug, they will either crave you and seek you out at the first hint of you back into their awareness, or they won't. They're over you. And that, my friends, is 100% owning your health right now.
Welcome to this episode of Owning Her Health with your host, Dr. Lisa Holland, PT. Join Lisa as she starts the conversation on what it really takes to become a healthy, wealthy, and whole CEO of your life. Listen in to real talk by real lady leaders in all walks of life as they open up on personal health stories, wealth, career, and feminine abundant living. Learn how to grow by owning your body, expanding your mind, and aligning your soul with the purpose only you can pursue in this world. Happiness begins with owning her health right now.
Everyone to a new episode of Owning Her Health. This week I have on Dr. Justin Trosclair. Dr. Justin, if you've been on my YouTube, my ill-fated YouTube that I just cannot get together since 2013, I have a couple episodes over there with living, loving, and learning, living lifestyle and leadership, and I had Justin on, Dr. Justin Trosclair from China. He's originally from the US of A, but we met on social media, and we always have great chats. We kind of talk shop, and the unique thing is that he's a doctor of chiropractic who has a podcast, A Doctor's Perspective, and reached out to me because he interviews, and what I love is he interviews all sorts of doctors, all sorts of clinical doctors. And really, I think that's really where we have to go, right? We have to stop being like, this doctor's better than this doctor. It depends on what you're working on. So that's why I kind of, I guess I had an affinity for Justin. We just have really great business chats, to be perfectly honest. And we were having a chit chat, and I was like, you know what? This would be really good for my women in the Mind Body Brand Academy for like a masterclass kind of extra add-on into our vault, because Justin has a way of, I think that he does pretty well with the marketing of his books and the use of his ebooks. He went over to China, and he's establishing himself as an expert, and has published a couple of books, self-published them. So from that perspective, where you see people working on utilizing creative ways to get in front of people at different points in the conversation. And if you listen to me for any length of time anywhere, if you're following my stuff, definitely if you're part of my Goddess Wisdom Mastermind Facebook page, I'm always talking about this curvy hustle approach to playing this branding game and marketing game, and playing it from an aspect of influencer, relationship, feminine leadership ways of connection, community, and what better way than to put a book in someone's hand where they can, obviously it's a low cost way to get talking to you. Maybe they are needing to save for the consult or the evaluation, but it does also the flip in that it gives you validity in a way. You can get testimonials on that. So I just thought it would be a really great conversation. I also like how he's got this story. How does a guy from Colorado, a chiropractor, turn up in China in a hospital of all places, working in a collaborative way of that, and then also having his own his clinics and even some ideas that I think are coming out of all of this work, understanding how to utilize that status of literally being a unicorn, right? In China there, this like bald white guy from Louisiana, I think he's originally from, and planting shop in here. He ended up with having a wonderful Asian wife, now has a baby, and is doing his business thing. So I actually see him as a very curvy hustler, and I thought I would have him on. So we talk about, so if you are basically interested in writing a book, using that in some sort of your marketing funnel, if you're just interested in writing it because you want to share it with your family, you feel like you have a message, you have a mission, you want a legacy, anything like that, because the reality is that your voice is important. That's one thing I hope that I empower you with through Owning Her Health. Is part of us being healthy, regardless of wealthy and how you define wealthy, regardless of how you define success. I think part of your definition of success should be owning your health. And part of owning your health is owning your voice in the bigger picture, whether it be in your home, out in your community, in your industry, in the whole entire world, the global economy. That is part of it. That is part of the reason you're here. Moving your message, the message, your life story in some sort of way, whether even if it's to just get down on a blog or a journal, something that you wanted to say to somebody in a one page letter. Your voice, your opinions, your thoughts on a conversation, wherever your feeling needs to be shared, it should be. That is a sacred rite of passage of just being a human being. Otherwise, you would not have language. You would not have the communication skills that we have potential for, but that we're desperately losing if we don't start working on these types of things. You're wasting that. You're wasting that. So I had Justin on. We're gonna have this great episode. He's gonna give some cool tips on things like little secret weapons and becoming a #1 Amazon bestseller, tips on upcycling some of your content, but like I said, just getting your message out there, just way to get your message out there in a unique way. So without further ado, here is Dr. Justin Troscolair. Episode is sponsored by Mind Body Brand Academy. Mind Body Brand Academy is your 8-week launch cycle. We do it 2 times a year. We invite you into the tribe for 2 times a year, into the circle, and it is a marketing mastermind, but it is something that is quite unique. We work 8 modules. First time through, you're getting through a lot of the personal BS that keeps you small, keeps you out of jumping from that bigger leap. And then we get into the basics of marketing funnels, all the things that you're just like overwhelming you, not getting a digital presence, not getting online for. Basics, how you're going to connect with your community, what's your brand, who's your most ideal soulmate, avatar or customer, the whole 360 customer degree life cycle, which we call a customer experience, or the experience of your community members, building community, how you're going to do that, picking your platforms, all the basics that are seemingly really overwhelming. We get that through the curriculum. But subsequently, we invite you in every 8 weeks that goes on, no further charges, just to help you launch as you evolve. So that maybe one day you're going from procrastination station day one to maybe just even getting that domain and getting that Facebook page. Maybe by the fourth time you're in, you are launching a book. You are getting your brand out there. You are getting known. So, welcome you over to Mind Body Brand Academy. That's www.mindbodybrandacademy, and find out how you can get on the waiting list for our next 8-week round. I am your hostess with the mostest, Dr. Lisa Holland, PT, and I'm excited to bring you our second masculine, divine, conscious masculine guest here, Dr. Justin Trosclair. But most recently, as I was starting to bring on some men onto the podcast and expand some of the conversations into some of the business minded things as well as the health and wellness for the whole picture, I got to realize, Justin does a really great job of pulling people into some of his work that he's done. He's a creative like me. I can tell. He's an author. Writes on his blog. He does creative things. Brings his clinic over in China. They work towards, like I do, getting the cause of the symptoms, creating a fun environment, not being like everybody out of the box, what's expected, using latest tech, or at least being up to date with things. So we got to talking, and I just thought, you know what, Justin's got his second book out there. He's got a podcast that he invites everyone in. I think he's really good in creating community, and so I said, hey, Justin, how about we talk on my podcast and come on? And he was nice enough to do that. So thank you very much, Justin, for being here. I'm going to flip it over to you. Why don't you tell my audience, we tend to be a lot of healthcare providers, also women versus men, conscious men, but I speak a lot of, obviously, of women's empowerment and expanding that conversation in terms of who's on here. It could be anybody from the yoga teacher to the stay-at-home mom, and everything in between, whether or not they're working and playing and living work-life kind of balance. Tell us a little bit about kind of what you do, how your chiropractic's different, what got you to China, and what you're doing now.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me on the show, especially if it's women based. It's always fun to be like, all right, I made the top. No,
Yeah, I think we have a really great conversation. I think you're
we
great.
have. So originally I was in Denver doing chiropractic, had my own thing. I had sold my clinic because I kind of miss family and all of those types of feelings. But then why did I go to China? Well, I realized I'd like to have a little break too. I wanted something where I could work, travel, see a new culture, but also make money. So there's only so many places that you can go without having to retake all of these boards. And if anybody's taking boards, that's a big deal, especially 6, 7 years later. You kind of forget about some of the things you don't deal with all the time, like how does
Yeah,
the kidney function on the glomerular level? I don't know. I don't remember. I
right,
can relearn it, but I didn't want to. So
right.
anyway, so China came up, and got the opportunity to work in a hospital, which I thought would help me in the future. Unlike PTs, we don't really get that opportunity very often. So I thought that could really boost my resume in the future. So do a little time for a lifetime benefit later, work in an orthopedic office or something. And after like 1 year, I ended up sticking around for like 4.5, 5 years now. It's kind of crazy. But and I'm married, so this is now. So before I wasn't, but now I am.
With child now, with the
Now
child.
with a child, just turning 1 year old in about a week. So really excited about that as well. And all this was, the books, that was pre baby.
Yeah.
And in China, there's not a lot of people that speak English in where I live. So I was kind of getting bored, and I was talking to my buddy and in America, and I was like, hey man, I think I could do a podcast, because there's all these people that, they have short podcasts. You can't dive in deep with the guests sometimes, and they'd say something. You're like, would you just ask about that? That's crazy. You just glossed over it. Or,
Right.
yeah, I was making $1 million. I had 3 clinics, and then I went through a divorce and don't see my kids, and that's probably the hardest part of my life. I'm like, well, that's not good either. Come
Right.
on. So my podcast will focus kind of on marketing, asking all kinds of different types of doctors, from podiatry to PT and all this, to find out what it is that they do, what's their specialty, what kind of marketing are they doing. And then I always ask, how do you keep the love alive in your relationship? And then, favorite books, of course. And then how to take vacation, because a lot of us, we're private practice. You take a vacation, quote, you're losing money. Do you hire
Mhm.
somebody? Yeah, what do you do? Because that's going to be affecting your spouse's relationship as well. And that's something that I hear as guys. Oh, my wife wants to take another vacation. Doesn't she know I have to work? It's like, oh, come on, that's not a great um, thought pattern there. You should want to take vacation too and see your kids and your family in a different location. But so that was the catalyst for that. And while I was working, we're not that busy, so you got downtime. You can only surf social media so long and read so many books, and you just kind of start getting bored. And that's kind of what was going on. And so there's not a lot of English books. Shipping takes forever. So you know what? I've got these thoughts in my head. With the red book right here on my,
Mm-hmm.
what is that, right? Your
That's
left.
yeah.
That was like pretty much everything that you can think of. It's got health. Oh, look at there. It's
Got
got
it.
health.
There's a book here for the video people.
Yeah. And I'm not sure if you got version one or version two, but version two, after about 6 months, I was like, finances. I talk about this stuff all the time and budgeting, and it's a stressful situation. So talk about that and all the other, health and exercises and how to trick yourself with some things I learned in China. So pulled that all together. And then the second book, being around Eastern Western medicine, um, my department does acupuncture all the time and different things. And I had some notes and some things from America. And I was like, let's compare these things and start pulling things together. And so I was like, hey, here's 40 conditions that you can do at your house. You don't have to have needles. Um, and then, that one's a difficult one to market sometimes
Yeah. Yeah.
because social media has all these rules. And I'm like, come on. So, but I think that's a pretty good book too. So,
Yeah. Well, there's a couple of things, Justin, that I hear from there that I love. Number one, you made your podcast to be, um, conversational, but more conversational with these people. Yes, you're talking about their, the way that they treat and maybe what they're doing, but it was really the person behind, having those conversations. How do you work this in your life? Because I don't think I agree. There's not a lot of those conversations. I mean, that's a major, major reason with my Goddess Wisdom Mastermind. I have even that private group. It's just to be a woman who's doing this solopreneur here, healthpreneur thing, like just being the person, which I think is important. So I think that's awesome. And I like the idea of using your downtime, because I think there's a lot of practitioners who I'm not an I'm a science nerd. I'm whatever. I'm into anatomy. Like I'm not good enough. I'm not that guru person I took that continuing ed from. I have nothing to contribute. Why do you think you were able to kind of? Is that just your personality, or do you see the same thing where maybe people are not, yeah, you have some downtime. Let's make some content. Let's do something with your skills in another way to bring a different revenue stream. Do you see that being a problem in chiropractic as well, or in other disciplines you work with?
I would say yes and no. Like in chiropractic, there's lots of gurus who have a successful practice and they see a way to make money. And so
Yeah,
they're
you
like,
guys
let me
get a lot
package
more
this.
marketing. You guys get a lot more marketing in school than we do as physical therapists.
Right. And we actually kind of get upset with our own people sometimes because they might be selling things that were like that was popular back in the 80s, but it doesn't really work today, or like for some reason it's very personality driven. So there is that you need to really investigate who you're following and all that. So if they actually produce the book, it's kind of nice to spend what $20 and find out what they're talking about and if it resonates with you. But for myself, and I think for other people, you may not be someone who likes to write. Like I'm always creative. I like to draw stuff and I'd write things like for the blog, and so I enjoy that. So if you don't like that, that's gonna be tough to use that for your downtime. It's torture. But maybe you can put a headset on and create a podcast, like they say, or if you like video, do a video, and you can convert that to every other piece of
Right.
a thing. So you can have a blog post from your video, you can have an audio from your video, all from one video. So I think you have to find out what you're excited about or what makes you happy. And maybe if it's photography, okay, if it's photography, go with that too. But then you probably got to make a meme out of it, otherwise,
Right, right.
depending on your audience. So I think, especially females, they're very creative. I think in a lot of those areas. So just using your time, like blocking out, if you have patience, maybe scheduling yourself to where you have that hour to where you can be creative and not jump on the computer and waste the time every day. I mean, that's the thing is like when you're writing a book, it's not something that you're going to knock out in a day. It
True.
takes a little bit of time every day, and you may not hit it every day, but you just have to not feel guilty about that. And I think that's part of it is, well, I said I was going to do it. And then today got things that hectic, or, people have kids. And, unfortunately, women are still what, 60 or 70% of the household
Yeah.
responsibilities still fall on them. Uh, so they're going to have a lot less time to be able to do it. And I think you just can't feel guilty if you don't do it one day or two. Um,
But the
so I've
idea
got
is like to expand your horizons, though, right? But like do something else with. There's always some other way you can use your, I think, your degrees, and I think and like you said, to float your boat. I don't know how it is in chiropractic, but I can tell you in physical therapy, I think unfortunately there might have been a group of people that sort of went in wanting one thing, got another, and they don't really have anything in the area anymore that floats their boat. And that's the
oh,
problem. They've got these bills and this and that. But if you do, I think some people maybe prematurely go take another degree, go in, something else in some other shiny new object, some
yeah.
certification and this and that. And they go do that for a while. But really, if they expanded maybe what their original stuff was in 57 different flavors, they might be really saving themselves some money and still driving some different variation in their practice. So how
Yeah.
did you get into, like, did you self-publish? Like, how to give us a little lowdown, because I think that a lot of people are super intimidated, and you've done 2 books. So
Yes.
what don't we know? What can we learn from you in the snapshot of that?
It's not hard to self-publish. In fact, it's very, very easy. So if you're worried about, if you want a book deal, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I'm not that guy. I don't think,
Right.
yeah, my stuff's great, but I mean, I'm not Malcolm Gladwell. I'm
We're
whatever
talking about the
textbook.
self-publisher.
Yeah,
You
we're
want a book.
talking. You have an idea. You want to put it on paper. Maybe you've lost 50 pounds. Like I had lost 20, 25 pounds coming into China. I didn't think I was fat until I saw a picture a couple years later. I was like, oh, look at that. I got big. I mean, you
Right.
know. Um, so it was kind of like my weight loss journey was part of what I wrote about, and I had a blog for a long time. So I was like, let me go through that and see what's available. So the book is set up. It's kind of like you're reading a blog post because you are, and that's a great thing too. If you wrote your content, you can just repackage it. The issue is having to organize it. And what's good, once you've figured out how the order, you can print everything out and then have it like in piles. So for organization, because sometimes on a computer in a Word document, that's tough to really get organized. So once it's organized and you kind of figured it out, you write it. You can go to Fiverr, .com, and they've got everything you need. The book designer, the editor, and you can pay different kind of editors. You can have the comma and punctuation person, but you can also pay extra, and they will tell you, hey, this whole paragraph is dumb, or you have this and you have this way over here 100 pages later. You should really combine those. I can help you with that and go from there. So you can, however much you want to pay, you can get it nice. Um, they also say you should. I learned this on one of the podcasts I listened to. You can read your book to yourself. Because when you read a paragraph, you really see, wow, that really didn't flow well at all out loud, but on paper it sounded great. And then you can fix it up. And you just go to Kindle Direct Publishing. It's a couple of clicks, you sign in, you create an account. It's a little bit different than the Amazon, so it's still Amazon, but you have to get a new password and everything. But it tells you what format, and that's another thing you can get on Fiverr. They'll format the book to whatever sizes that you want. You go on the Kindle page and you find out what's the common sizes for the book publishing. Tell them which one you want. Grab a bunch of books, whatever size you like, and then they'll format it. Then you have somebody else convert it to a Kindle, and then you have the files and the artwork and everything, and you just upload it. And then you write up a description. The description is really important. If you want to talk about like marketing, go through some of the books that you like the best or that you see as the number one bestsellers, and get a template of what they're doing. Put your stuff in there. Again, get that proofread. You can pay to get somebody to do HTML if you don't know how to do any coding, because you can bold, you can italic, you can put little bullet points and things, I think, in the description. But although if you don't have HTML, it doesn't work. So you can't just copy your Word document and put it over there. So you may have to pay somebody $5 to HTML it for you. Um, After that, you put your price and hit submit, and then probably within 72 hours, your book is live for people to purchase. and it
Mm.
is out there. And you get an ISBN number, which is put in the Library of Congress. So this book here is self-published. This book is literally published, but I used 48-hour books, dropping links like crazy over here. But that's a company that I use. You can print books, and it only takes like 2 days to get them printed. But the best option, I think, there's always the deal. You buy 100, you get 25 free, and it is not ISBN. You can't find this blue book, this acupuncture book, anywhere unless you know me, which is not the greatest sometimes because that means if you don't mark it, nobody knows you. On Amazon, they could kind of discover you if you
Right.
keyword it correctly, and all of that.
Yeah, so it's kind of like it does. It takes a strategy because you could utilize, let's say, your blue book in house, more local talks, conversations to follow up and, become this sort of, expert kind of whatever. And you could use the Tomorrow's Health, maybe that's more world, global, has the IBS, what is it? ISB number?
ISBN, the barcode.
Yeah, so I know what you're talking about. I just can't remember the letters, the way that it went. Um, that that has that out there and is on, let's say, a Kindle or this or that to drive people to your other things that are more global and this and that, like your podcast. Let them see your personality. I
Hmm.
feel like being and that's one of these conversations I'm always having in the My Body Brand Academy is you know you kind of have to think like it's not just I'm going to write a book because everybody told me to write a book and that's my opt-in, and I mean that can be, but kind of think of like what audience are you targeting and where are you taking them, because like you said, it would really make no sense to go global with the needless acupuncture, needleless acupuncture to go to your clinic.
Yeah.
The push there shouldn't be to go to your clinic per se, because a lot of the people globally can't go to your clinic in China, whereas the other one, they might see your personality, this and that. You drive them to, maybe you have some sort of consulting services or something that they could take part in. So I think that's a level people don't really realize, that not only it's write the book or get the opt-in or the white page or something in some sort of marketing. And for those of you that are listening in that aren't in any sort of sales or anything. And by the way, if you are a stay-at-home mom or dad, and you're just somebody that's building a multi-level marketing, you need to be listening to these conversations to protect your business. I will say that because I think a big problem people do, or even if they have, I don't know if chiropractic would be in that bubble, but I know physical therapists, a lot of times they'll be part of a chain of like,
Oh,
such and like a corporate chain, and they'll have a franchisee owner, but you're really almost like in a multi-level marketing company. It's
yeah.
really like you're selling essential oils or such and such shake or something, because you're putting you're putting paint on the wall, but it's the other person's model of a business, which is fine. It packages it for you, but that's a very different marketing conversation, I think, to protect yourself, because you have to make sure that you're bringing people, like I would say, like if you were working in a hospital, Justin, right, in China, there would be a
Hmm.
different conversation to make sure maybe you were collecting emails and not just the hospital was collecting emails, because then when Justin leaves, it would be nice if he took his audience with him
Yeah.
instead of leaving it with the hospital, right?
Correct. And like what you were saying made me think, when you're writing your book, what is your goal? Is it a big business card? Is it a $3 business card? Because if that's the case, you're gonna write it different than Justin's manifesto of health. Like
Right.
if you're trying to be, Dr. Phil's psychology book, you're probably like gonna write it differently. But for me, and I didn't do it enough in this book, but now that it's that easy to edit, I can just go through and do it. I would I would definitely put more dropping hints in my group coaching. Even if you don't have group coaching, if that's your goal, well, my past clients have maybe said or
Mm-hmm.
tried this. You
Mm-hmm.
might have pages for sometimes with like your website. Here's how you can contact me. The way you write it would be like, in past, some of my patients, if you're interested, you can just go to this website, and then you might have something that they can already download. Like I
Like your other book.
packaged, well, yeah, their book exactly. I've packaged 4 different like giveaways to try to get people interested. Like you said, the downloads. So there's certain things that I've already pulled from the book to give away for free. So you mention those in the book so that people might go back to it because they might want something quick and easy on their computer on their phone, what were those 12 exercises for back pain? I don't
Right.
know where your book went, but I know they're on the computer somewheres.
Right.
So, and in the back of the book, you can have literally a sales page of anything else that you have. A lot of authors put previous books they've written in the front. You can do that too. You can have whatever you want. It's your book. So if your goal is to get patients worldwide or locally, you're going to write your book differently. And then when you go to pass these out, you can give them away for free to your clients who refer. You can, when you're out and about, you might be able to get some news coverage if you're in the local area, and especially if like in a smaller town, you're like, hey, local doctor published a book,
Right.
write a press release. Now you might actually get on TV or free newspaper ads, and people just they see a book, they think like you're an expert now because
Yeah.
they're like, I never
Yeah, it
write a
does.
book.
It's a credibility thing. But I think you
Hmm.
played it, great points there with like, you're going to write your book differently. And I think uh, you played both those books a little differently. So,
Hmm.
one of them, you're like the expert, like this is how you do acupuncture for these types of things on your own, follow my lead. And the other one, you were almost like the outcomes guide, like more like the personal trainer that's like, look, I used to be 400 pounds. Now I'm like, 200 pounds. This is what I did. Follow this
Hmm.
plan. And you could, I mean, if we're, extrapolating, that could very well become an online program where they do the things
Exactly.
and download it and whatever. Like that's a very different path than you wouldn't be making somebody an acupuncturist from your book, like,
Right.
right? You'd be
Yeah.
leading them into coming in for some other treatments or something.
And it's all about it's how much marketing you want to do. Like what you've already established is quite impressive to me because I'm still in the beginning stages of trying to build out that part of, dare I say, income. Because you got to, my wife is amazing at sales. She's super cool. Like I told my buddy, one of my buddies, was like, yeah, well, she hit number 5 in the whatever, and she's like, he's like, I'm not surprised. I was like, I know, but it happened quick. She's just, and spousal spouse supportive person, you can't do these things without that because it takes time to do everything. And so she's been super awesome to give me that time and space to be able to do it. And
Yeah, and it's
that's a
true.
big
It's got
thing.
to be a partnership. I mean, this is again, getting into that work life reality here. How do you make it work? I mean, it's a family buy-in. I mean, this is a strategy of like, what are we doing here? What are we building? But I think and I do think there's so many people that are like, if you're going to treat your career like a job, even when you're working for somebody else. That's very different, I think, on the family dynamics than when you say, this is my career and I'm building this like career. I'm building this, like you said, this diversification, this way to earn a living using this degree in this way, using this in this way, using my personality in this way, using my, even now, as we're having this conversation, you know, you can be consulting on things. I know you were talking to your friends and kind of like talking about the marketing aspects because you got your book, out there and set it up to be, number one in certain categories and this and that. So, that is that's a
Number one
strategy.
best-selling author on Amazon. That's
There
right.
you
You
go.
can't
There
take
you
that
go.
from me.
So what did you hit, Justin? What were you able to hit with, and how did you do that?
So a trick, and you might pay somebody to figure this out, and I didn't have to pay because I just Googled a lot of stuff. There's 10 categories that you can show up for on Amazon. However, you can only pick 2 categories when you submit your book. So it's like the browsing, the keywords. So once you go, if you look on the left and you find a book, they'll tell you nonfiction, uh, alternative therapy, women's health, and then you find these books that you're looking for. So whatever, that's just an example.
Mm-hmm.
So if you, now I've seen that, I don't like the way they do this. A lot of fiction books, they'll put their category like a nonfiction, diet, therapy, and exercise, and you're like,
Mm,
dude, you're writing
right.
softcore porn. What are you
Right,
talking? I don't know,
right. This is very
So
much not nonfiction.
right, and they become number one because there's just no competition, and that's what you're
Right.
looking for. You're looking for categories that fit your book, that are low competition, and so whenever you do your email blast and hitting up everybody you know to promote your link that couple days that you put it for free or for like a lower price typically, so that you can do it. Um, that's what you do. So things like work-related health, diet therapy for me, physical medicine and rehab, musculoskeletal disease, occupational medicine, osteopathy, some of those. So I had 7 that I hit number 1 in, and the book went from like not even on the charts to top 105 in all of Kindle free and number 122 in all of paid. And the actual book itself made it to like 232,000 out of like, there's like 6 million books out there or more. So it was
That's amazing.
blew me away that I could do it.
Yeah, because it doesn't sound like it's too. I mean, obviously you need a strategy, but it's not rocket science.
Well, and some people question the ethical about it, like, oh, now you're number 1 author, huh? How many books did you actually sell? You're like, that's a secret. You don't talk about that part, like how many it
Right.
actually took,
But you're
because
saying, but you're saying something that I think is very important. And this is what people have to understand. These are all strategies. We're not saying I mean, yes, you got to watch. Everybody does have people, and they did pay people. Like, I say this like on Twitter followers and Instagram followers. I mean, these people that have
you're not going to
15.
get rich selling books, people.
Right.
If
Yeah,
you're
and you're
lucky
not
to
going to
pay
get
a
rich
bill,
selling
you're
books.
excited.
Right? It's not. I mean, some people do, but I mean, like you got to be. It's a different process, and you need to be carried by a major publisher and kind of get in that circle. But what you're discussing is one thing we have to really realize, and again, I'm trying to close the bridge. That's why I try to bring some of these things into the master class and stuff like that. I think there's a lot of people, professionals, everyday people who do have something to say, but feel like they could never be number 1 or this or that. And they
Who am
really
I?
fail to realize that that is not necessarily because that person's so much better than them or so much more respected. They calculated a way to do that so they could use it for their marketing. And ethical versus not ethical, the point is all of this is marketing. I mean, all of it.
Even
Even
Tim
if someone
Ferriss did
takes
it.
a course and then writes a book out of that course, it's all to get people to admire them enough so that they can sell them something. I mean, that's the reality.
Yep, it's credibility, building everything up so that you can eventually, you know, I'm not going to get rich making a buck 50 on a book. But if I get a client that wants coaching at whatever you want to charge,
Right.
200 a month, 1200 a month, 10,000 a year, whoever you are and whatever you want to charge, that's a lot of money from just writing a book.
Right. And that's
10,000 a
what you see.
client per year.
A lot of the big time, personal development people, they're like, I will send this book to you for free. Just get the shipping and handling. Because basically that's all they're paying per book being published, self-published is the shipping and handling probably, or
It's called a
whatever.
value ladder. I give you
Right,
a
a
free book.
value ladder.
You buy my 197 whatever plan, then you buy the $600 one, then you buy the $3,000 coaching, and then ad nauseum, there's a percentage of
and
people
it's
that will just
and it's
keep
important
doing
if
it.
you're listening to this and you're just maybe I don't know, you got interested in the whole marketing conversation, you're not necessarily professional marketing things, and you're listening to this and you're like, oh my god, I'm being scammed. It's not so much. Yes, you are being scammed by some people. You should be
Some
aware.
people, that's the hard part.
Right, that's the thing. Like you should look into it. That's why it's good to listen to somebody's podcast. Look at what they're doing. But even like
Search Google.
Google reviews now. I mean, there's Bluebird, I think it's called, or whatever, where you can pay them to basically push to get your 5-star marketing, your 5-star reviews or whatever reviews on Google. You pay them in the platform. They go and you pump in your people. They go and they market for them to make a testimonial, and then they really push the ones that are the highest. So you have to dig a little, but I will say there's a lot of people that are really great, which is why I'm trying to bring this information. There's so many practitioners that I see are so great, but they're a little smaller. They weren't in 10, 15 years ago, so they don't have the big clinic right established. They're young. They got they've got their school fees still to pay, their tuition to pay back and stuff like that. Like they feel like they're in a disadvantage, and they really maybe get burnt out taking all these certifications and this and that just to prove themselves in one way, when in reality maybe they're really gifted for that person. No, they're not going to teach their peer how to do a high
It's a
volt.
different market.
That's not their market. Exactly. You're going to teach the average somebody who didn't go to whatever school, doctor school, whatever doctor school you are, something. And that I feel like, that's why I'm having this conversation. There's ways to make this something you can do to get to the right people so that they even know. So that they
Right.
even know. Because it can't always be just the people that are the gurus. There's so many people who have learned from them who also have a unique voice in the conversation.
And what's frustrating for us sometimes, there's a lady that makes millions. She has almost no qualifications, none. But she's in the fitness and health realm and makes millions. And you are a doctor. So if you're a PT, you have way more experience, but it's marketing and it's packaging. I interviewed a lady. She has a cool little backstory. She's got a great system. She's building all of that out. And I saw the other day on LinkedIn, she's got a course on jump rope because she like jump rope. She had bad knees or something, so she likes to jump rope and like she'll travel the world and she'll jump rope like in front of the pyramids or something like that. And you're like, this is kind of funny. But now she has like a little course how to jump rope. And it's just a
Right.
way to get emails and get people
Right.
engaged because they're like, oh, your personality, you jump rope, that's your thing for some reason, and we like you, we like that. Yeah, I'll give jump rope a try.
Right. And
So
it's funny, but it's also like it's creative as all hell. Like I'm just like, that's creative. Like if you can make that work, then
more
do it. And
power.
I think one thing that I didn't mention, it wasn't like you just published your book and you put in some keywords. I mean, you were active on them on your email list. So you were actively pushing to your email list. So there's again has to be some sort of like funnel or way that you're doing the whole package, right?
You know how frustrating it is. I do the podcast, but not I don't have everybody's email. Some people it's LinkedIn, some people I had Facebook, and then I had some people in email, and then I did like a promotion one time, and people unsubscribed. I was like, no, don't unsubscribe. You were part of my guest. You were part of my show. So I had to go through and go find them again and just go through the whole situation. Like 140 people. That's a lot of work
Yeah,
for
yeah.
sending that email.
Well,
So anyway,
really, you
that's
also
what
could
you have
look
to
at that
do.
as a filter. You could also look at that as a filter. I teach my curvy hustle stuff is actually, it's kind of like counterculture and all of this stuff. It's actually very filtered. Like my Mind Body Brand Academy is pretty much like mostly marketed to my Facebook page private group.
Mm,
Like because I know it's such a process, and you kind of have to know me. Like yes, you're going to get basics in like getting your brand launched and packaging yourself and making sure it's your voice, and you can look at a million blogs and you can get some, but I'm very much on implementation. I'm going to, there's going to be no excuse in 8 weeks why you can't launch this thing other than you getting in your own way. So there's a whole personal development part and section in that. But like, if you're somebody who's just like, I just want data and I want things and I just want to know information and then I'm going to do this checklist and follow. Like, if I'm in the franchise model, I'm not really looking
mm,
to do my own thing and be a unicorn like me. I actually want them to just like, I literally send out an email, which is so different than you. Like, I send out an email every so often that I say, okay, well, here's what we're doing now, whatever. Like, feel free to take yourself off because this is the ride we're taking. And
ah,
I use that because then when I make my sales, you know what I mean? Like it's like I know they're already like a warmer market because they're following me. It's not like it's like a I
yeah.
have to like weed it out then and just target this with this email and this with this email. So there's plenty of ways. What we're saying is there are plenty of ways to kind of make this work. But again, getting that whole system idea of how you're going to do it or what you want the end result to be. Because I also think, would you agree that so many people, like our colleagues, it is overwhelming. We don't all learn marketing. You had the grace of learning some, but like most of us don't learn anything. And you go off on your own and you're just following whatever they tell you you should do. But there's really like, do you find like they're just like, they don't even know why they're doing the things they've told them to do? Like, why do I have a
Yeah,
blog?
that's the biggest thing. I was supposed to have all these social media accounts, and I was told to try to get reviews, and I'm supposed to post, but then I forgot last month. Oh, it's been a month already. Oh no, I should probably tell my assistant up front to post something today and maybe for the next couple of days, and then you forget again. And I got to make a YouTube video, but I don't know what to write. So
It
you
can get
probably just got bored hearing me say that, and that's the point. Is there's so many avenues, so you have to pick something that you like or you might think you like, learn about it, and then focus. And there's enough gurus in every one of these things to be able to find what you don't know out. Like Udemy, have you know if you've heard of that
yes,
class?
yes. Mm-hmm.
I I got a 12-in-1 course to learn a little bit about every platform for like $10 and
Right.
my time.
Udemy is a great. I'm definitely dropping that one. Like Udemy is a great kind of resource to get started. I don't know how they make
Learn
their
what you
money.
don't
I think
know.
they just have so many people on there that buy so many like lower ticket things.
Sometimes you have to buy stuff. If you get everything for free, I was just listening to this, this person who's amazing. Anyway, he's like, there's free content and you can figure out what you need. But if you value your time and you want to make an actual change, sometimes you have to put a little skin in the game. Even if
Yeah,
it's $10,
right,
now all of a sudden you'll do what it is that you were trying to seek.
right.
Otherwise, you're just consuming content and you don't do anything with
Well,
it.
I say that about the opt-ins on people's things. Like I actually, again, counterculture. I kind of like give a little resistance. Like for my marketing, the marketing platform the lead generator that I shared with you, I there's a version of that for being part of my team. I want to build with that
Hmm.
asks you for your phone number. Like right off, like if you want to learn more, let me have your phone number. And I know that'll
Yeah,
stop people in their tracks of like, well, if I don't want her to call me. Well, if you don't want me to call you, then you're not really interested in what I'm asking you to do. You know what I mean? Like there's a way
right.
to use it, but there's also a way to kind of be a barrier. So that's important conversation.
And it depends on where you're at in your business too. Like if you just need a lot of leads, then you
Right,
may not put the phone number. But if you're
right,
trying to weed people out, you're like, I'm not wasting any more time with people who look you lose.
right, right.
Awesome. Put a barrier.
And for different
And
things, because you could do that for different things. Like there's the
yeah,
opt-in here for maybe clinical things that I want them to kind of know, like, and trust me a little bit more, or to send them the podcast. Wanting to monetize the
that's
podcast and stuff like that.
and that's what's great about being podcast. You might show up on your website somehow. You heard a friend. You're like, I don't know this person. I'm not giving her my number. I don't really know if I want to buy her program. And then you're like, oh, you do a search. She's got this type of podcast and this type of media. You start consuming it. You're like, oh, I like them. Oh, I like Justin's little Asian Cajun baby. That's
Right,
cool. He's got a little
right,
accent on him. Okay, now I connect. Or no, I really have nothing to do with this guy. We would not be friends. I don't want to talk. I don't want to buy his program.
right. Yeah,
Cool. There's plenty of people that don't like me.
exactly. And that's again another important reason why to kind of diversify and have. And I like the idea. Again, you don't go out there and you say, I'm selling chiropractic. I'm,
Well, it
I'm,
wants chiropractic.
I'm out there being Justin. I think we really have to take advantage of that personal brand because, again, Justin may change his mind when he decides to leave China now with his wife and his
Which we
child.
are.
Yeah, I mean, you want to be like, I don't even know. Like for me, I kind of have retired from being a doctor of physical therapy. Like I work with people so much more as a coach and even like a more of a life coach. And I actually love the helping people like this in these conversations because there's such a gap and I'm creative and stuff. But if you work yourself the right way and you're talking sort of the same thing, even though you're not doing the same thing, it affords you so much opportunity to pivot, 20 years down the line, which
And
is
some of the people that give you the most grief when you're on social media and they're like ragging on, oh, this person, oh, now you're a coach, huh? You're like, yeah, but then behind the scenes, a month later, you find that they're trying to do something as well.
well, I
Like,
mean, I
wait,
think
so
a lot
you,
of a
it's
lot
good for you, but not for me.
well, I think a lot of people honestly go into education clinically. They become teachers because
Hmm.
they really like to help with the teaching. But I don't know if everybody like academia is not for everybody. Like for me, I'm like academia is so stuffy on the bureaucracy side that like there was honestly I went into my online thing because I wanted to teach
Yeah,
and I did not want to go into academia because I didn't want to be running research all the time. Not because I don't value research. That's another thing. They're like, oh, well, you're not real because you don't do research. No, no, no. You do the research and I read it and I critique it and I utilize. But like my thing is this so that people even know about you. Nobody's going to know about even
right.
anything in therapy if nobody's out there talking. So that everybody has their space. I think that's it. Like
Yeah.
everybody work together, even PT here with chiropractor here, even, physician with nurse or whoever, we all can sort of support each other to make sure the right people get to the right people at the right time and everybody's happy. Would you agree?
Agreed.
There's just
Agreed.
so many sick people in this whole entire world, right? To not, or ambitious people that do nothing, or walking dead people who never find the right person to help them out of their pain.
I
It's
mean,
just
to think when you graduate at 25 and then you start knocking on 40, and some people are like, well, I've been doing it this long, I'm gonna just keep at it. You're like, dude, keep at it. You could be working for another 25 years. That's a long time to just
Right. Add some
plow
spice.
through.
Yeah, and I can see why. I mean, you can do that, but again, there's just a different mindset. You're an entrepreneur or you're an employee. And it's
It's
just
not, there's nothing wrong with being an
there's
employee.
nothing wrong with it. It's just that if you're not
I'm
going
loving
to
it.
do it long term, you need a personal brand. You need to take
Yeah.
all that collection of all that experience and all that conversation and all that audience you built.
Note to self, buy your own name URL.
Oh
I
yeah,
got
definitely.
drjustintrostclair.com. There's no time as get off this and go and buy it. It's
Right.
$10
I
a
mean,
year.
there is. By the time I went, I got Dr. Lisa Holland PT.com, but I mean, like, there is another Dr. Lisa Holland. That's why I put
Hmm.
the PT on there. And also, I was like Dr. Lisa PT if I could get it, or like variations to, like, because what you don't want, and we'll end it kind of there. What you don't want is building up something for somebody else to come in who doesn't have the ethics and sort of leverage off your, another Justin, Dr. Justin, to come in. You know what I mean? Like, you want to set yourself up specifically so that, you know, if
Yeah.
you want to set other people up completely. Obviously, if they're copying you, that's very nice, obviously, but, like, I mean, that's the protection also. You don't want somebody running something that's completely not yours and in a different direction that would make it be, you don't want somebody
It's a,
hurting people with a
yeah.
pain taking the Dr. Justin route.
Well,
Right.
if you have your name, you can put everything underneath it. Like I have my own separate a doctorsperspective.net for my podcast, and I've thought about like maybe I should just convert it over to my URL name and just have everything in one spot. But I'm like, you know what? If I ever could sell the podcast that I've built, then that's not going to go well. So it's
Again,
nice to have things
strategy.
separate.
What's your long-term strategy? Because, like me, I'm not thinking that at all, because I
Yeah,
utilize my podcast in a different way and I have a
yeah.
different vision for it. So very, 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 very good perspective there. Like, how are you even using these pieces? Are they separate little kind of little entities that you weave
Hmm.
together with you? Again, you're the common thread, and you can,
We could
have
have multiple
differentiating.
shows.
Right, exactly. Awesome, awesome. So, Justin, tell what last little tidbits of wisdom, because I'm always asking the ladies, if you could see the 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 wise person of like 10 years from now, or you could have talked to the person you were 10 years ago, what would you say to them, to what you've learned on this voyage so far? So I'm going to ask you that as well. If you can talk to the Justin 10 years ago with what you've learned so far, sort of living this life, entrepreneurial kind of creative practitioner life that you have, what do you think you would probably say as the person you are right now if you could whisper in that 10-year ago guy's ear?
Wow. Start now. You've thought about you have something in your head. You've thought about a way to be creative. Start now because it takes time to build. Everybody says you're an overnight success, but it
Yeah.
took you 6 years or 3 years.
And
So
you'll evolve, so you'll switch things.
yeah,
Yeah.
it don't watch so much TV. It's fun. Limit yourself to maybe half an hour a day, and then get
Yeah.
something done. Um, and just start building your email list, Justin. Figure that out. Like you have a list, get it, especially as a client, as a physician, it's easy to get emails from people. So do that. It'll help you later on, especially with like Facebook targeting. Um,
Yeah, before you even have anything. I think a lot of people wait.
yeah,
"Oh, I don't have a clinic yet. I don't have a business. I don't have a program. It doesn't matter. Like, if you're somebody that changed somebody's life, try to start a community with them. Like, send them a birthday card every year.
yeah. I
Something.
mean, if you think about like financial, if you started saving for retirement 10 years ago,
Right.
the amount of
Right.
money you have
The amount
now
that
versus starting
changes.
today.
Right.
So it's just kind of use your time use your time more wisely. There is something, just there's something in your brain back then that you could have done more with. So what is it? And now flush that out a little bit more. So that's
And how about if so now with you, however you're thinking of yourself or having some ideas because now you know that, what would you hope the guy 10 years down the line is able to tell you?
From here to then, from
Yeah,
now
like the
till
guy 10 years from now, what would you hope he's able to tell you about, like right now to you, like to give you some advice from then, the wiser one 10 years down the
oh,
road?
you're still you were doing what you needed to do. You probably should hire that person from the Philippines to be your personal assistant to get more done that you're just not willing to do because it'll pay off later. Um, don't give up with the podcast, for instance, because you can pivot what you've learned into easier ways or more niche markets to where you can actually monetize it a little bit easier. And hey, man, it's 10 years. You enjoyed Europe, you enjoyed China. Now maybe you're back in the States and you can just take
Mhm.
everything you've learned and really enrich your kids' life and the people that you're around on a regular basis.
Awesome, awesome. Well, Dr. Justin, thank you so much for being here. I think that was a great conversation. Definitely opened up, I think, probably, my eyes to even thinking of some other ways that I don't even think about how to utilize things and some different perspectives on how to diversify and things like that. Where can people find you if, number one, are you open for them to kind of contact you if they do have kind of like an idea, or either a podcast, how to get a podcast started, or even a book idea and things like that? How could they best get in touch with you?
To be honest, my personal site's been kind of down because I've been working and not needing to actually make it awesome. So I would just point everybody to the podcast, a doctorsperspective.net.
Mm-hmm.
On the top right, all the social media icons are on there. So whatever you like to use, reach out to me on that. Email, of course, is easy. Um, and I'll reply back. It's something that I'm building. I enjoy, like I said, I enjoy giving back to people and all this stuff. And I welcome the questions, and it's something I do for like students when they're asking about, should I
Yeah,
go to China? You're like,
students.
well, you probably should. You
Yeah.
probably should.
I think that's a
And
great outlet. I think getting into students, that's been very popular in physical therapy students, getting the physical therapy students involved in some of this personal branding and marketing before they even launch so that they have leverage for their jobs. A lot of
if you know
people,
where you're going to live as a student, there's no excuse for you to not be targeting the crud out of your zip code now. Like, you're
yeah,
not a doctor yet, but that doesn't mean you don't know a bajillion more than the people in your
right,
community.
right. And in the future. So great, 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 great advice at the very end there, right under the finish line or whatever. All right, Dr. Justin, thank you so much for being here. And we will see you guys next time. Let us know how you like some of these marketing things, and let us know if we can get you any information. You can either contact me via the show notes at Owning Her Health over on the Libsyn show page. I have all the links and everything there for you. And if you get a chance and you really have some questions directly for Justin, go on over to a doctorsperspective.net and ask him because he will get back to you. All right. Thanks so much, guys. Bye.
Thank you for listening into this episode of Owning Her Health with Dr. Lisa Holland, PT. To learn more about her personal and professional development service, visit her online at drlisahollandpt.com.